And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to make a couple of easy, quickly put together dips that you can serve at any kind of gathering in your home, whether it be a Super Bowl party or Christmas or Thanksgiving or just, Friday night with your friends or whatever kind of gathering that you would have. You could serve these dips that I'm going to make. And then to go along with that, I love punches. I love to have something festive when I've got company over. So I'm going to make two dips and two different punches that you can make, and they're both so easy and totally make ahead meals or dips type things and punches so that you can have it ready when your guests get there and you're not in the kitchen while they're having fun. So the first thing we need to do, now if you have leftover chicken or turkey, this is a perfect recipe for that, but I don't have any leftovers. So what I'm going to do is I have 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and I'm going to poach these in some chicken broth. So I've got chicken stock in there, chicken broth, just canned broth, and I'm going to go ahead and cut these into smaller pieces so they'll cook quicker. But then after they're cooked, of course, I'll shred them up a little bit and make them more bite-sized. But I'm just going to cut these up into about 1-inch cubes so that they cook faster. And as I get them cut, I'm just going to go ahead and put them down into the chicken broth. The reason that I'm using chicken broth is it adds a little more flavor because, sometimes chicken breasts can be bland. But if you don't have chicken broth, you could use water. If you wanted to use water, I would suggest putting maybe a little bit of thyme or some whole sage or something in there to add a little bit of a flavor to the chicken, because sometimes chicken can be bland. That one's thin, so leave it whole. You could use tenders for this. You could use, if you like dark meat, you could use thighs for this, like boneless, skinless thighs, and just poach them, or simply leftover chicken, which is what I normally do use, but I didn't have any. So I wanted to show you that you can just use poached chicken. And I love dips. They're perfect to have for a gathering because your guests can help themselves. You can make it ahead. But honestly, this is a meal. This particular dip right here is a meal in one, because you're going to have chicken, which is protein. You're going to have some beans, white beans, Great Northern beans, which is protein. You've got some salsa, which has got your vegetables in it. And you're actually going to have a little bit of milk too, so you've got some dairy. So truly, this is a meal. If you wanted to make this and just use it as a meal, you could. Now, I just wore some gloves here, so I can just throw those away because they've touched the chicken. Remember, the rule, never put raw meat on the board. I never put raw meat on my wooden boards. I always use those plastic ones. If you don't have those, cover your board with saran wrap or parchment paper, wax paper, something to protect your board. There's different schools of thought on that. Some say you can put meat on here, just disinfect it. I just don't feel comfortable doing that, so I always use a separate board. If you do use the same board, if you only have one, make sure before you cut anything else on this board, if you have put raw meat on there, that you sanitize it, because it's not sanitary. You get cross-contamination that way. Now, in this skillet, I'm going to preheat that with just a tiny bit of just vegetable oil, maybe a tablespoon or so. And I'm going to warm up my salsa. I just have about half a cup of salsa, just jarred salsa. And then 1 can of Great Northern beans that I've drained. I don't like to rinse mine because I like that little bit of starchy liquid that kind of clings to the beans. But if you want to rinse yours, you can, feel free. Stir that up. Then I like black olives, so I'm adding, matter of fact, I think I'm gonna chop these up a little bit more. I've got 1 8-ounce jar of just sliced black olives, but you could use green olives if you wanted to, or Kalamata olives, although they might be a little strong. Or if you don't like olives, don't put any olives in there, and maybe use some capers would be good. You want something briny, think briny. But olives are a perfect addition to this. And black olives, I think, tend to be the least strong of the olive family, although for me personally, I like them all. I love olives of any kind. I love to go to the grocery stores that have those olive bars, you know what I'm talking about, and just smell those olives. Oh, I love them. I love them all. Love them all. I like all olives. That was just 1 little 8-ounce jar of just sliced black olives that I just chopped a little finer. They actually come chopped. But I'm funny about that. I don't always like to use that. It depends on what I'm doing. Most of the time I don't, because it just doesn't look as pretty. I like the look of the sliced olives. Little milk, about 1/4 cup, and some cumin. And that's all there is to it. And we just need to kind of let that simmer and let that poach. And then we're going to combine them with some cheese. Now, we need some cheese. And I don't often find shredded pepper jack cheese. So, excuse me, but I do find the blocks. So you can shred your own, and actually it melts better if you shred your own. I don't know if you knew that or not, but the pre-shredded cheese has a cellulose derivative that they mix with the cheese to keep it from clumping together. Doesn't melt as good as the kind you shred yourself. I use the other, but this does melt better, but I can't ever find shredded pepper jack. So I just buy the blocks and shred it myself on the large holes of a box grater. This is a good job to give somebody. Actually, this cheese is a little soft. It grates a little easier if you keep it in your refrigerator or your freezer for about 15 minutes. It'll grate easier. I'm just going to take a quick break, let that chicken poach. I'm just going to slice up or shred up these 2 blocks of cheese. And when I come back, we're going to get this one done and start on a wonderful Asian dipping sauce. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now we're just gonna let this chicken poach. It just needs about, 10 minutes because we cut it into smaller pieces. This is just keeping warm, and I've got my cheese shredded, ready to go, but we don't wanna add that yet. So we're gonna get started on our next dip. If you have ever had a dish called either beef or chicken satay, it's an Indonesian type dish, Asian more than Indonesian, but anyway, it's delicious, and it's a peanut-based sauce. Well, we're gonna kind of change that into a dip using the peanut flavors. The best part is it's all done in the food processor. So easy. You need a jar, 16 ounces of, I like the crunchy peanut butter. You could use smooth if you did not want the chunks of peanuts, but I like that texture difference. So I'm gonna add the whole jar to the food processor, fitted with your steel blade. If I can get it all out. 2 cups. Peanut butter is a staple in my home. I don't know about your house, but we go through a lot of peanut butter. And one of my favorite snacks in the world is celery with peanut butter. I eat it all the time. So for this dip, of course, I felt like you had to have a little bit of celery going on. Now I've got some ginger, about 1/3 cup of fresh ginger, not the dried, fresh ginger, some soy sauce, and some garlic, because you gotta have garlic. I've got 3 cloves, so I think I'll just use 2. These are big. If they're smaller, I would use 2. I'm gonna peel them. I'm actually gonna use my garlic press. If you don't have a garlic press, just mince it really, really, really fine. Because although the food processor will, continue to mince it some, you wanna make sure that nobody's biting down on a great big piece of garlic. So I'm gonna add, because these are big, I'm just gonna add 2 cloves. I love this garlic press. It just does a good job, gives your hand a workout too. See how fine it makes it? And then you just, and that's it. They're simple. I love garlic presses. And then for flavor only, this is dark sesame oil. Oh, it smells so good. Now, this is not a cooking oil. This is a flavoring oil. You want about 2 teaspoons, and I always take, this is a new bottle, I always take those silly caps off my soy sauce and my oils because I can get it out. Want about 2 teaspoons. This is a very strong flavored oil, but it's fabulous. I love it. And this is one oil, on another note, that when you're not using this, this needs to go in the refrigerator because this will go rancid if you leave it out on the counter, quicker than it will in the refrigerator. And sometimes it'll solidify a little bit, kind of become thicker, not solid, but thicker. Just take it out of the refrigerator a few minutes before you need to use it, and it'll loosen right back up. And then put the lid on your food processor. This is going to be a little loud, so bear with me. And just pulse it together to incorporate it, and then turn it on for about 30 seconds. Oh, it smells so good, and that's it. Now, anybody can do that. Absolutely anybody could make this dish. And then I like to serve it just in a little small bowl. Be careful of that blade because remember, that thing is sharp. This is not a job for children. I would get it out of the food processor yourself. By all means, let them turn it on, but you make sure you're the one getting it out. It's a thicker dip. You could add a little more soy if you wanted to, or sesame oil. I'm gonna actually drizzle it with a little bit to serve. And that's it. It's delicious, absolutely delicious. You could, if you wanted to make this dip, and serve it, thin it down a little bit with a little more soy and even some water to thin it. Serve it alongside some grilled steak pieces or chicken as a sauce over your meat, and it would be delicious. Let me get the rest of that out there. I don't want to waste any of it. So good. And then to serve it, I would serve this with, let me get that out of my way. These are just baked pita chips that you can get in the grocery store, or in my case, some celery sticks, because to me, there is nothing better than peanut butter and celery. I know some of you out there don't like celery, so you don't have to, but you could serve it with celery, or chips or crackers of any kind. You could take some, if you want to make your own pita, take some pita bread and cut it into wedges and bake it. You could serve it with like a baguette, cut a French baguette into thin slices and then bake those till they're crisp. You could serve it with that, or just do what I'm doing and serve it with some celery and some pita, because that's the perfect little vessel for that dip, just like that. So, so, so good. So I will just put these on the side. And there you go. Quick, easy little dip that you could make anytime, and it's wonderful. And if you've got family that like peanut butter and celery, this is perfect for them. Just to make it a little extra special, I want to drizzle just a touch more of the sesame oil. Maybe another teaspoon. It really is so, so good. And make sure when you're getting this that you don't get the light color. Do you see how dark that is? That's what you want. That's the toasted sesame. Because they do make a cooking oil that's sesame oil, but it's white like your canola oils or your vegetable oil or even olive oil. This is dark, 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 and this is the toasted sesame, and it's fabulous. Just remember to put that back in your refrigerator. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, check the chicken, and when I come back, we're going to make the punches, and then the best part, we're going to eat. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now our dip is done. Our chicken is almost poached. Everything's ready to pull together, so let's make a punch. Now I have a nice punch bowl here, and I have some apple cider, but you could use apple juice. I just picked up apple cider. And this is 64 ounces. Now this recipe can be doubled or tripled or whatever you need. So I've got one apple juice, and then I had one of the frozen lemonades, that we thawed, so we didn't, that's good on that. And then here's where you can use what you like. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but in the grocery stores where you buy bottled water, not where the soda is, but where the bottled water is sold, is seltzer water. Along with the club sodas and things like that. Now, seltzer water is a carbonated water. It's really good, and it comes in different flavors. I've got peach and grapefruit. So I wanted to show you an alternative that you could use in this instead of a soda. But for this recipe, I'm just going to show you that you can use just a 2 liter of any clear soda, like 7-Up or Sierra Mist or ginger ale, whatever you like. And I'm going to add 2 liters to my bowl. If it'll hold it, come on, don't be splattering on me everywhere. Got to do this slow or I'm going to end up drenched in punch. If you wanted to make a pretty ice ring, you could, just take like a bundt pan, put some lemon slices in it, or even apple slices that you coat with lemon juice to keep them from turning brown, and then pour water in there and freeze it, and then plop it in there as an ice ring. That would be pretty. But we're just going to garnish it with some lemon slices. That knife's too little. Let's get a bigger knife here. Just to kind of show what's in there. Make it pretty. So we're just going to garnish it with some lemon slices. And that's all, just to kind of let those float in there so that everybody knows that's got a lemon flavor. You could put some apple slices or some orange. You could really put anything you wanted in there. Just kind of stir that together, and that's it. If you wanted to festive it up just a little more, you could add some sherbet, like any kind of frozen sorbet sort of thing. You could do that. It would be delicious. So there's one punch. Now, let's make another punch. I only have one punch bowl, so we're going to divide this one into 2 pitchers. Now, I have peach nectar in the can. Where you find that is with the Mexican, like where the tortillas and the Mexican food is. There should be a whole big display of different guava nectar, mango nectar. I got peach. Delicious. Love it. And then we're going to add about ½ a cup of orange juice to each one. This one has lots of different flavors going on. And then my favorite juice, which is ruby red grapefruit juice. Now, I don't use the juice cocktail. I use the 100% juice. About ½ of this bottle in each one. Doesn't have to be exact. It's going to taste delicious either way you go. And then I am going to use the sparkling water in this one. I'm gonna show you. See how that just, careful. Let it fizz. And I've chosen peach because I'm using peach nectar. And I'm gonna add one. And then if I've got some room left over, I'm gonna fill it up with the juice. And this just adds fizziness to it. This is really good. Gotta be careful with this. It's got that carbonation in it. Let it come up. You see how it's fizzing? There we go. This has the carbonation with it with no calorie. This is 0 calorie. These, no artificial sweeteners or anything. It just doesn't, it's just water, flavored water. And I love them. If you don't have this, you could use ginger ale or 7-Up or something like that if you wanted to. I have a little room left, so let's add a little bit more of the grapefruit juice because I really like grapefruit juice. And there is a beautiful little easy to put together punch that you can serve anytime. Stir it all together. It doesn't have to be a special occasion for you to make these. And I have a grapefruit. And I'm just going to kind of garnish it with some beautiful slices of grapefruit. I'm actually going to make these half moons because this is so big. And I don't know about you, but I adore grapefruit. Love it. Absolutely love it. You could garnish it with either the red grapefruit or the yellow, whichever one your store has. And of course, you know, you can eat this after you're through with your punch. You can eat it. Matter of fact, I think I'll go ahead and just quarter them. Just kind of let it float. Or you could use lemon, or you could just not put anything in there. And of course, the juices will kind of come out of that fruit a little bit. Delicious. And I would serve those just over rice. And that's it. A couple of easy, quick punches for you to make. Now let's finish up our chicken. It's done. Let's turn it off. And I'm just going to strain it with a spoon. And because it's cooked, I can put it on my board. I just don't put raw meat on there. Be careful, it's hot. And you could save this broth that you've poached this in. Just freeze it. Put it in your freezer, strain it, and put it in your freezer and use it for soups. Don't throw it away. Even if you've used water, don't throw that broth away. Freeze that because that is a good base for a soup. You can freeze it if you're not going to use it real quick. This will need to cool for just a second because it's way too hot to shred. And you've got a poached chicken and you've made an enriched stock. So you've got a base for another meal right there. Now, if my children were here, they would be saying, Mom, put that chicken right back in there and add some orzo. Make me some soup. They love chicken and orzo soup. So strain that with a fine mesh strainer and then freeze that. Don't throw that away. That's way too much flavor in there. Let's see. I've kind of got hands that are used to really hot stuff. So you want to kind of cut this up. And if you want to, you could use some tongs to hold on to it if you need to do that. Just kind of show you there. Myself, I just as soon do it with my hands. Had somebody tell me once, you must have asbestos hands. And you know, I think with cooking, I think you just develop this ability to handle hot food and it not hurt your hands. And I'm just touching it really with the tips of my fingers. Cut it into bite-sized pieces, or you could take 2 forks and shred it, however you want to do it. And again, if you've got leftover chicken, use that. Easy, easy, easy. Now let's just, for time's sake, I got to hurry. Show you quickly here. Whew, that one's hot. And then just take your little scooper, which mine's in the sink, and just add that right into your mixture, your chicken. See, this is a hearty dip. And to dip this with, I just have chosen those scoopable dips. Now you would go ahead, if you were doing this at home, you would go ahead and chop all that chicken, but I'm on a little bit of a time constraint here, so I'm just gonna show you. You would stir that up. You could double this recipe too, and then this you could completely and totally put it in your crock pot if you wanted to keep it warm, or over a chafing dish if you were having a party. And you would just serve that with something. I chose tortilla chips. Anything that you could scoop with. You could, if you wanted to, bake some potatoes and serve this over a potato. And that would be wonderful as a meal. Or over rice or anything, really. Or on its own. Would be delicious as a meal. But we're going to use it as a dip. And that's it. And I would just serve that. I would cut up the rest of that chicken and just serve that with like these little scoopable tortilla. There you go, some quick, easy dips and drinks. And we've got lots for you to do, lots for you to try. We've got our wonderful Asian peanut dip, our delicious white chili chicken dip, and our 2 different punches. Thank you for joining with me, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia 24212.